The weather had shifted, moody skies, light drizzle clinging to the windows, and with it, the house had grown quieter. Taehyung was in the kitchen humming faintly, his sleeves rolled up, apron tied around his waist, cooking Jiho's favorite, chicken curry with rice. Jungkook stood in the hallway, watching. There was something deeply domestic about the scene, and it scared him more than he'd admit. Not because it was unfamiliar, but because it was starting to feel too familiar. Too safe. Too warm. Later that day Jimin had stopped by. As usual, he swept in with a teasing grin and a bag full of pastries. Jiho had clung to him instantly, asking about school and making him promise he'd play later. Taehyung greeted him with polite warmth, offering him tea. They sat in the living room, laughter floating through the air. Jungkook watched from the hallway, arms crossed, something twisting in his stomach. Jimin was laughing at something Taehyung said, leaning closer, touching his arm in that casual, effortless way. And Taehyung was laughing back. Too easy. Too close. Why did it bother him so much? He wasn't supposed to care. It was an arranged marriage. A convenient deal. But the way Taehyung's eyes crinkled when he smiled, the way he looked at Jiho like he'd built his world around him, it wasn't a game anymore. Not for Jungkook. Why are you pouting? Jimin teased suddenly, catching Jungkook's expression as he entered the room. I'm not, you totally are, Jimin snorted. You look like someone just stole your snack. Taehyung raised a brow. You okay? Jungkook forced a smile. I'm fine, but inside, he wasn't. Not when Jimin was talking to Taehyung like that. Not when Taehyung was laughing so freely, like Jungkook wasn't even there. That night Jungkook paced his bedroom, replaying the day. Every smile. Every glance. Every single time Taehyung looked at someone else with ease that Jungkook had never known. He finally walked into the hallway, pausing in front of Taehyung's door. His hand hovered. He knocked. The door opened slowly. Taehyung stood there, towel draped around his neck, head down. Hey, he said softly. Jungkook didn't speak right away. His eyes flickered to the room behind him, the way it looked lived in now. Shared? Like Taehyung had built a piece of home here already. You like Jimin? He asked quietly. Taehyung blinked. He's nice, too nice, eh, pause? Taehyung stepped aside, motioning him in. You jealous? Jungkook, I'm asking a question. No, you're avoiding one, Taehyung replied, voice low. What do you want me to say? That I only look at you? Jungkook stayed silent. Taehyung walked closer. You're the one who built walls between us. But now, suddenly, you care who stands beside me? I didn't say I don't care, Jungkook breathed, finally meeting his eyes. That's the damn problem. Something cracked open between them. Their breaths caught. And for the first time, Taehyung saw it. The fear. The longing. The quiet confession in Jungkook's silence. The rain came hard that evening. Thunder rumbled in the distance as the power flickered off, plunging the house into a warm, candle-lit quiet. Jiho had fallen asleep hours ago, curled in Taehyung's arms on the couch, after watching the storm flash outside the windows. Jungkook had offered to carry Jiho to bed. Taehyung let him. Now it was just the two of them. The silence wasn't awkward. It was charged. Taehyung stood by the window, arms crossed, watching the rain streak down the glass. The candlelight made his skin glow golden, soft shadows playing across his face. You always stare when you think I'm not looking, he said, voice calm, unbothered. Jungkook sat on the couch, elbows on his knees, fingers clasped. You always act like you're not waiting for me to say something. Taehyung glanced over his shoulder. Maybe I stopped waiting. That made Jungkook look up. I'm not good at this, he said finally, voice tight. And what? Taehyung asked, turning fully now. At letting someone in. At saying the right things. You're good at loving Jiho. Jungkook nodded slowly. That's different. Jiho never asked me to be someone I'm not, and you think I do? Silence. Thunder. No, Jungkook whispered. I think you asked me to feel. Taehyung walked over, slow steps, the sound of rain filling the room like a heartbeat. You think that's a bad thing? I think it's terrifying. They stood face to face now. Close. Too close. Taehyung's eyes were unreadable. You're allowed to be scared. But I need to know if I'm building something alone here. You're not, Jungkook said, almost broken. That's the part that scares me most. His voice cracked on the last word. Taehyung didn't pull him in. He didn't touch him. But his voice was like silk. Then stop running from it. I'm not ready, Jungkook admitted, chest heaving. But I'm trying. Taehyung smiled sadly. I see you trying. That's why I'm still here. Later that night they didn't go to their separate rooms. The storm raged, but inside it was still. Safe. They lay side by side on the couch, not touching, just breathing in the same space. A pillow between them, but no more walls. It wasn't passion. It wasn't romance. Not yet. It was something real. And for Jungkook, that was the scariest thing of all. Papa Tae, will you come to my school? Taehyung blinked, cereal spoon midair. Jiho stared up at him with those round eyes that always made it hard to say no. What's happening at school? Taehyung asked gently. Family Day, Jiho announced proudly, swinging his legs under the table. We have to bring our parents. My teacher said we can draw with them and eat cake. Jungkook, sitting across the table, froze. Taehyung glanced at him briefly, unsure. You should take him, Jungkook said after a pause, eyes on his coffee. Jiho looked between them, smile slowly growing. So you'll come? Taehyung smiled softly. Of course I will. Jungkook didn't look up. But the tight clench of his jaw didn't go unnoticed. Later that day the classroom was chaos. Little kids running around with glue sticks, crayons, and frosting-stained fingers. Jiho held onto Taehyung's hand tightly, proudly introducing him to his classmates. This is Papa Tae. He fixed our sink and reads the voices funny when we do bedtime stories. Taehyung chuckled, shaking hands with the teacher. He caught Jungkook leaning against the back wall, arms crossed, silent. He hadn't said he'd come. But he was here. Watching. Protecting. And, maybe, wanting. During the art session Jiho drew 3 stick figures, one tall, with a square jaw, another with long hair and wide eyes, and one little one holding both their hands. He wrote underneath in big letters, "My family." Jungkook stared at it. His heart stuttered. Taehyung was watching him from the side, silent. It wasn't just a drawing. It was a confession. And Jungkook felt it, like a hand wrapped around his chest, squeezing. After school, why didn't you tell me you were coming? Taehyung asked quietly as they walked home. I wasn't sure I could handle it, Jungkook replied, voice honest. But when I saw how happy he was with you there, I couldn't stay away. Taehyung stopped walking. You don't have to keep pushing me out, Jungkook. I'm not. You're. Jungkook turned to him, eyes blazing. I'm scared that if I let you stay, you'll realize I'm not enough. Taehyung stepped closer. Then let me show you that you are. Their eyes held fire and fear, longing and hesitation. Taehyung didn't kiss him. But he did something worse. He reached up and tucked a strand of Jungkook's hair behind his ear. Gentle. Familiar. Like he'd done it 1,000 times in dreams. Jungkook shivered. That night, Jiho's drawing sat on the fridge. And for once, Jungkook didn't take it down. The night was quiet, too quiet. Taehyung lay awake on the couch again. His room was ready upstairs, but he hadn't used it in weeks. Not since Jiho started sleepwalking and only calmed down if Taehyung was nearby. Not since Jungkook started pouring him a second cup of coffee in the morning without asking. Their routines blurred. Boundaries softened. But walls? Jungkook's walls were still as high as ever. The next morning Taehyung was reaching for the fridge when he noticed a picture, one he hadn't seen before. It was stuck behind Jiho's family day drawing. A photo of Jungkook and a woman. His ex. She had the same eyes as Jiho, the same cheeky smile. But her hand wasn't on Jungkook's shoulder. It was on another man's chest. Taehyung stared, confused. He didn't hear Jungkook enter the kitchen until he spoke. You found it. Taehyung looked up. Why do you still have it? Jungkook's face closed off. It's Jiho's mother. She's with someone else. She left when Jiho was 6 months old. Said she wasn't made for this life. He swallowed hard. I kept the photo in case Jiho ever asks. Taehyung's voice softened. And what will you say? That she loved him? Just not enough to stay. A long silence. I'm not her, Jungkook. I know. Taehyung stepped closer. Then stop looking at me like I'll run. Jungkook's eyes flashed. You don't know how many people have. I'm still here. That afternoon they took Jiho to the park. He ran toward the swings, laughing. Taehyung followed behind, letting Jungkook have a moment of peace on the bench. That was, until Jungkook noticed another dad walking over to Taehyung. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a flirty smile. The man said something that made Taehyung laugh. Jungkook's stomach twisted. He didn't even realize he was on his feet until he was standing beside them, hand resting on Taehyung's lower back. The man blinked at him. You his husband? Jungkook said calmly, possessively. Taehyung raised an eyebrow. The man cleared his throat and left quickly. You didn't have to do that, Taehyung said once they were alone. I wanted to, Jungkook admitted, eyes still watching the man's retreating back. Taehyung grinned. Jealous Jungkook didn't answer. He didn't need to. That night Taehyung found him standing by Jiho's bedroom, staring at the sleeping boy. You're a good father, Jungkook, he whispered. Jungkook turned, eyes softer than Taehyung had ever seen them. And you're good with him. Better than I ever expected anyone to be. They stood close, breath mingling. Jungkook looked at him like he was scared to lean in, but more scared to pull away. I'm trying, he said. Taehyung touched his cheek. So try with me. This time, when their lips met, it was hesitant. Not rushed. Not desperate. Just real. Soft. Scared. Hopeful. Like the first time two broken people decide not to push each other away anymore.